Hello, everybody, and welcome to another dispatch from quarantine. How are you? I've been getting that question a lot lately, and my response is usually, I'm doing pretty well. Sometimes I'm great, and sometimes I'm an absolute mess. So pretty much the same as usual. Sometimes all on the same day, but I hope you're doing well, and I hope you're getting your bearings. I would like to read a portion of Psalm 37. It's just so good. It's guided me most of my adult life. Verses 3, 4, and 5. Trust in the Lord and do good. Dwell in his land and befriend faithfulness. Delight yourself in the Lord and he will give you the desires of your heart. Commit your way to the Lord. Trust in him and he will act. I mean, it's everything. It's all right there, right? Trust, delight, commit. It's just a great directive of how to live for God. Trust, do good. We have a promise that he will act on our behalf. We can delight ourselves in him. It's so amazing. Every classroom I've ever had, probably I've had that as a bulletin board at some point. I just love it. So a couple of years ago, I decided I would memorize Psalm 37 to get it more a part of me. And imagine my surprise when out of that, on either side of my 3, 4, and 5, trust, delight, commit, the sunshine and rainbows of that verse, it says, fret not yourself against evildoers. On the other side of it says, fret not yourselves over the one who prospers in the way. So that little burst of sunshine is bookended with fret not. I don't want to fret. I don't want to think about that. I don't want to think about evildoers or wrongdoing or danger. But I can't pretend it's not there. So there's a reason it's there on either side. So we want to pay attention. We're going to look at the whole context. In this time of quarantine, it's taking some of us a little longer to get our bearings. Some people are leaning in and crushing it. They feel like they've been born for this moment. Others are having a hard time coping and have struggled to find a rhythm. Most of us are somewhere in between. With a lack of schedules, events, nights at home, busyness, it's a different kind of busyness for sure. It's possible that some weaknesses or some gaps have been revealed in our lives. And we can't pretend they're not there. They're there. We can't disappear in a crowd, or we can't sign up for another activity, or we can't just go to church, or we have to face it. And so what are we going to do when we see this weakness or this gap that's been revealed in our lives? We got a chance to get it right. We can lean into it. Maybe you're not as hard a worker as you thought you were now that you're working from home. Maybe your family communication is not as direct as you thought it was now that you're in that mix more often than not. Maybe you didn't even know you were disconnected, and now you do. So we're not in this delightful little bubble. We're bumping up against fretting and worrying and anxiety. But we need to find a way to get back to center. I've heard about the peace that passes understanding, and honestly, for a lot of my adult life, a lot of my Christian walk, it sounded a little cliche to me. Yes, Jesus absolutely gives peace. I mean, I remember lying awake at night thinking about the meaning of life. I could not sleep. I would read whole books because I could not get to sleep. But when God found me and he filled me with his spirit, I slept like a baby. I understand that kind of peace. I get it, before and after. The peace that Jesus gave me, it was amazing, and it's still with me. But the peace that passes understanding, sometimes you have to learn that the hard way. So fast forward to parenthood. I have 4 darling young men. I had one of them when he was 16. He struggled, so we all struggled. And there was a time that when he was 16, that I didn't even know where he was. I mean, for days. So that was pretty hard. And I remember going to church and sitting by myself on a Wednesday night. I think Sam was working, I probably had somebody in youth, but I remember I was by myself and I was just trying to hold it together. And on the best of days, that's hard for me. So you can only imagine I was trembling, vibrating, trying not to cry. And after the message, I went up to the altar, and because there was a call to prayer, and of course I'm going to be a part of that, I don't even know if I was praying, to be honest. I was just there. And Pastor came up to me and he said, "Give me your hands." So I gave him my hands and he prayed for me for peace. And you know what? I got peace. I got peace. I didn't understand it. It didn't make any sense at all to have peace during that time. But it was real and I felt it, and I felt God surrounding us. And that was a peace that passes understanding. And that was with me throughout that whole season. You'll be glad to know we're on the other side of that. We call it the dark days now. But it was through that whole time, and things didn't get better for a while, and in some ways they got worse. But I always was in that bubble of peace with God. It centered me. It gave me hope. It was, I was aware, I would bump up against fretting. I would bump up against things out there that I didn't want to face. But I was in the middle of it and I was fine. So here we are. Some of us are exposed and vulnerable. Maybe you're just annoyed. You're not even scared, you're just annoyed because you don't like this. You want to see the end from the beginning, and we don't know where the end is. But we have a choice. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. Have you ever heard that quote? In that space is the power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. Does that sound like a cliche? Maybe it did before you're in that space, but now you do have a choice. The first person that said that was Viktor Frankl in his book, Man's Search for Meaning. He was a Holocaust survivor, and there was a space where he had to make a choice, and he did make a choice. And it changed his life, and really that legacy lives on of his choice because it can comfort us. We have a space. God has created a space for us in this isolation. We gotta let Him fill in that empty space, right? Whatever is happening in our home, in our work, in our life, fret not. Fret not. We can trust, we can delight, and we can commit. And here's some good news. God does not judge humans for acting human. He made us that way. He likes us that way. So if I'm acting a little too human, my recourse is to say, God, I can't handle this. Help me, fill in my empty places. Help me to see with your eyes. Help me to love with your heart. And then take that step. You'll bump back into the center. And I don't know where you're at right now, but I know we all need to get to that bubble of grace. We may bump against some things, but we know who to go to get us back to center. And that's a position of trusting and delighting. Love you all, praying for you. Hope to see you soon.